Hi, it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm starting our series of thoughts for Holy Week. And so from Monday to Friday, a different one of us from the team is going to be just sharing a thought, 5 minutes leading up as we prepare our hearts for Easter. It's often known, Holy Week's known as a week of prayer and preparation. And so I'm going to be looking at John 18 verses 1 to 14 today, and really moving on from where we were looking at John 17 yesterday. So we've got the picture, Jesus is praying to his Father, and we've got this glorifying of the Father and the Son, and they're lifting each other up. And then it moves on, and it says that Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley, and he went to a garden. And this was a garden that he would have been familiar with, and he'd actually met Judas there before he did spend time with his disciples. And so they're in this garden, and Judas has brought a whole band with him, a motley crew with him of priests and of Roman soldiers and Pharisees. And so these two groups come together, and Jesus speaks out and he says, well, who is it that you're looking for? And the answer comes back, Jesus of Nazareth. And at that moment, Jesus turns around and he says, I am he. And he willingly steps forward. He's been preparing himself. We see that in John 17, the time's come. And so he willingly steps into this moment. He's like, I'm here. I don't need to hide. This is exactly my purpose. This is why I came. And what's interesting about this phrase, I am he, is that if you look in the original language, it actually looks like it's much more I am. The he isn't actually there. Whereas Jesus of Nazareth, I am. And that might well remind you of Exodus 3 and Moses and the burning bush. So you've got the burning bush. Moses suddenly notices it, and the bush starts talking and says, I want you to go and set my people free. And Moses then has this discussion, but at the end of the discussion, he's like, but who shall I say sent me? And God turns around and he says, I am who I am. And this is the revelation of the divine name. And so what we're seeing here in John 18 is also the revelation of the divine name again. So it's just beautiful, isn't it? And then the passage continues, really, and it says, when Jesus said, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground. So this whole group, this whole band that Judas has brought with him, suddenly all fall over on the ground. Now, as you read the commentaries, there's a number of different reasons for this. Some say this is people that don't believe in the supernatural. Well, it's because they're on a mountain. And I sit there thinking, well, surely their footing would have been a bit better than that. Other people say, well, it was because of this revelation of the divine name. But actually, there would have been a whole load of Roman soldiers there who wouldn't necessarily known about this. So, but what I think is happening in this moment is that the glory of the Lord's come. We've talked about glory in chapter 17, but the glory of something happens and they draw back and they fall over because Jesus reveals something of the glory of God. It's a bit like that moment in Isaiah 6 with Isaiah before the throne room of God. And so, that happens. And so what we see in this moment is Jesus' authority right into the picture, the power of God, that even though he's going to the cross, that even though in this moment he's willingly giving himself up and he looks weak, instead there's this authority that we see in the person of Jesus. The passage then moves on, and we've got Simon Peter who comes to try and start defending Jesus. He gets out his sword and he cuts off the high priest's ear. And Jesus turns around and he commands him, and he's like, Simon Peter, put your weapon away. And then he says this beautiful line, put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me? What's this cup? And when I think about this cup, this is again talking about Jesus dying on the cross. The cup, in this cup is the sin and the mess of the world. And that Jesus is saying, this is the only way. This is the only way that humanity, that you, that I can be reconciled with God, with the Father, is that I take this cup, that I drink this cup, this bitter pill. And so in this moment, he's going to the cross to drink and to take our sin upon himself in order that we might be free, in order that we can be pure before the Lord, in order that we can come before him in the most beautiful way. And so this passage in John 18, just verses 1 to 14, just opens up this whole section and begins to lead us towards this just amazing moment where Jesus dies. But let's never forget that he rises again as well.